Hello, good evening, and welcome to Blackmail. It's been a little while, so I figured I wanted to start off with something that some people would actually recognize, the Brits especially. So, hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. The Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand because
Little practice.
partly partly because there's a lot running through my head that for the last couple of days, and Brigid will back me on this one. News that I got earlier, like 10 minutes before we came on air. Anyway, just a couple of minutes before you got the chance to
Yeah.
join us.
It's cool, man.
Part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. Shujin. Hi. There are other voices in your head besides me, not those. From the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid Fitch. Good evening, morning, evening for you.
Good evening. Yeah, it's still evening. It's not morning yet.
And on the right-hand coast, where tsunamis are not typical this week, UnrenownedTech. Good morning.
Good morning.
And yeah, there's stuff. I'll fill everybody in on it momentarily. But before we do, thank you all for being patient and waiting for us to come back. I will be explaining in the 5-minute freestyle the ins and outs of part of it, so I'll fill you in on that part. The information that I had a little bit before we came on duty was that
Stunning.
there are two pieces. The first of which, the whole Streisand effect thing. One of the mothers down there in Texas who was threatened with arrest because she wanted to go into the school to get the kids when the police wouldn't, went against the police, went in there, got kids, came back, and was threatened by the police with parole violation if she talked to the press about what was going on. And she decided the Streisand effect is a wonderful thing. Let's go ahead and use that, and talked.
I'm telling you, one of the things that bothered me about that was not that they were threatening her with arrest for going into an active shooting scene. Why? Because there are too many cases where people have actually interfered with the police in an active crime scene and actually made things worse. I'm not saying what she did was wrong. I understand why she did it. If it was my son in there, I'd be running my ass in there. I'd be the designated decoy to get kids out. I'm a big target. But at the same time, the part where I go to the police and go, you're the reasons why the phrase all cops are bad is suddenly trending, or what has been trending, is because you're threatening to arrest somebody for talking about an action they took. No. Not in this country.
That just didn't
She
want her to
didn't
talk
yell.
about how they screwed up.
Yeah, she didn't go into a crowd and yell bomb.
Nope.
That's an arrestable offense. She is talking about what she did, why she did it, and feelings and other stuff. The most that they could say is if she, defame, libels, print, slander. The worst they could do is arrest her for slander if she slanders somebody. But you have to do that first.
But if there's one thing that I learned from living here in New York, you can take somebody to court for that, but they can
You might lose.
You might lose, but there is also the thing where you could go ahead and say, well, I'm sorry, I can't be guilty of an offense that shouldn't be an offense in the first place. But
Or he can't be found guilty of speaking the truth.
there's the other piece. Thank you.
And she wouldn't have had to go intervene and take things into her hands if they'd been freaking doing something.
Yeah, we're gonna cover a whole bunch of
Can't
these.
interfere with something that's not happening.
The second piece, and Yes, by the way, I will get to you guys over there in the live chat. The second piece of information, I know I would normally hit this a little bit later in the show, but I'm going to hit this like right at the beginning. You all know that I've been keeping track of the condition for Raif Badawi for a very, very long time at this point, and I had been counting up the amount of time since his at the time supposed release, and when we would finally get some kind of video or photographic evidence that he was alive and well. As of the middle of last month, there are photographs. There are some selfies that have made their way onto his Twitter account. I did put that in our chat text, so if you want to take a look at that. So there are pictures of Raif looking great in his wonderful tinted glasses. He, for somebody that has done
Awesome.
10 years, give or take, we'll say give, in conditions that we thought were incredibly poor. And I told I told Brigid this at the time. I was afraid that when we were finally going to get to see him, that he would have been sunken, emaciated, manged, like he would have come out of the ass end of cancer treatments. He does not look like that at all. We are collectively surprised, amazed, gratified. So at this point, this show is recording 2 months, 26 days after his release. And I am now going to officially suspend needing to keep track at this point. We could be waiting for and counting up the time until he is actually able to get out of the country and be with his family again. But I don't think at this point that we really need to do that. We may find some other that we should be keeping track of, but I am terribly grateful to see pictures of Raif looking just spiffy as hell. So, with everything else, that's a great thing to come back to. Over in the live chat, as I said, it's good to have you guys with us. If you do join us live, you can be part of the live chat. Stephanie, welcome back. Good to see you. Felis, hi. You know, and happy birthday, almost. So there's stuff. We got a lot to talk about, and we don't have nearly enough time to cover all of the pieces, let me tell you. But there are a couple that we will hit on that are very specifically in our wheelhouse. There's one in particular that I want to make sure that we hit on, but somehow I don't think that will be a problem. Anyhow, let's deal with a couple of pieces. Let me get the opening done. Let me get the freestyle. We'll get the horrible scopes, quick. Get that all out of the way, and we'll kind of work from there. So, let me start that. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts now. Useless. I know. Some people, as usual, are going to look at the title for a 5-minute freestyle and they're going to wonder, okay, what the hell? Who is this targeted at? I don't want to say that it's targeted at anybody, although there are some that fit the bill. In this particular case, I'm actually specifically targeting the entire month of May. Wow, what a hell of a month for me to decide that I wanted to take some time off, right? God, the hell was I thinking? We had no idea. We had no idea what was going to be happening. Of course, as we knew full well. I had a lot of points where, a news story broke out, and I was just like, all right, you know what? Maybe I should really come back. You know what? No, I always say that I hate taking time off. I said I'm going to take the time off. You know what? Let's go ahead and take the time off. Just leave it alone. Don't go back. Don't do it. The point of it was partly to have some downtime for myself, to do some things for myself, to get my computer, you know, jiggered around with, which I did succeed in doing, by the way. So now my Linux system actually boots in 20 seconds after it gets to the bootloader, you know, the boot selector. So I can choose between Windows and Linux, and now it's 20 seconds. So as opposed to Windows 3.1.1 speeds, you get the idea. The point of my taking time off in May is because I've been down for a very long time. It's fair to call it depression, although I don't know who would actually diagnose me. When the hell was the last time I've been to a doctor? And don't even get me started on the idea of going to therapy. I mean, I went to child psychs when I was in junior high school. I talked to my mom about the why, and I mean, okay, you know, I understand. I hold no animosity, but it was useless for me because I did not have rapport. I didn't have trust with somebody, and forgive me if I sound like I'm ragging on Sykes, but I don't find it easy to talk to people that in a substantive way that I don't have a relationship with. The idea of talking to someone who is otherwise a stranger, who is absorbing every little nuance and analyzing me, that voluntarily paying for the privilege, that there's something creepy for me about that. There are some people for whom that is exactly what they need, and you know what? More the better for you. You know, to borrow a phrase, God love you for it. You get the idea. As of the 22nd of last month, it's 17 years since my wife died. There's no other way to word it. She passed. She died. She is dead. I hold what is left of her essence in my house. Literally. Not figuratively, literally. Normally speaking, I would have taken maybe a week, maybe two off, which I've done before, because I would have taken that time from moralizing and just being for myself. Or maybe I would have done the 36-hour radio stream for the Ride for Roswell. But I wanted to try to take a month off just to be for me. And with everything going on, that didn't work out. And as somebody told me, you know, maybe you should come back because you're in the mode of, I must scream, but I have no mouth. Really, when all is said and done, what the hell did I do for myself or for all of us? Seems not a hell of a lot of anything. Episode 407. Leave the room for 4 weeks. Everything was fine when I left. Everything was fine, and you guys fucked everything the fuck up. We can't even. You know why? Why?
It's 2022. That's why.
You know we try so hard to be nice to you people, and you fuck everything all day. I mean, what do you got? You got a golden retriever that isn't housebroken, that at 2 in the morning all of a sudden has got the Roomba destroyed because it tried to sweep up all the poop in these lines back and forth in the living. No, why would you just? I don't even know.
Oh, I appreciate the Harlan Ellison reference, by the way.
I was gonna say that's a damn good book, short story.
Yeah,
I have
Uh,
actually
I miss
never
him.
read it.
what?
What?
Hold on. There are a lot of things I have never read, I am unfamiliar with. I have heard the title, but I
Uh-huh.
have not. There are a number of things that I have not read, and
It's a short story.
that's that's on
It
me,
is
and I know.
one of the few short stories that I think should still be in schools.
Yeah,
It's violent, it's abhorrent, it's extreme. The farthest extreme you can think of a dystopian future, of a horrible end to human civilization, so to speak. Uh, Torture, the whole 9 yards. But at the same time, it shows a level of humanity that can be, despite how bad everything can get, somebody can still do the right, do do something that's right. But it is a book that, a short story that is truly nightmarish. Um,
it's still relevant after all these decades.
oh my god, insanely so.
I have to
And
see
at
about that.
one point reading it, part of me felt bad for the the quote unquote bad guy, which I won't tell you who or what that is,
Okay,
and at the same time hated the bad guy. It's just, you get mixed feelings, and when you go in and you analyze the story from start to finish, um, and deep dive it, I mean, people have written all sorts of stuff about it.
Yeah, if I still had it, I would ship it to you and let you read it. But I called hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, but had to call a bunch of his too.
it's okay.
And to anybody out there who prefers to listen to their books, I mean, if you've got an Audible account, this is on Audible. I'm not kidding. Don't use your credit though. Credits are usually, save that for something like $12 or up. I think this thing's only like $5 because it's a short story. Um, to spend the cash instead. But seriously, Kindle, Audible, paperback, doesn't matter. Um, the narrator on Audible does an amazing job because of the who the narrator happens to be. Uh, and but just reading it on paperback too, it's its own experience. So everybody who's listening, if you can pick it up, this Stranger in a Strange Land. There's so many things out there that I still think need to be, part of curriculum. And just because, you know,
Fair
it
enough.
it makes you think.
Good morning.
Joseph joining us from
Bonjour.
Paris, France. Good morning.
Bonjour. What book were you guys talking about?
A short story called "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream" by Harlan Ellison.
Oh, that's yeah,
It's a classic.
yeah.
Yep. And it's good to have you. Yeah, over on YouTube, yes, I do have the video off at a moment because I am making slight adjustments for audio. So, Joseph, how are you this morning? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Oh, well, you guys have been on holiday
Yeah.
that I discovered, much to my dismay, a few weeks ago.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Got a bit of a migraine today, but
Oh.
I've been awake. Yeah, last weekend too. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, since I'm awake, hey.
So, sure, yeah. I mean, what if you're going through pain in your brain anyway, what better opportunity to go ahead and share that pain, right?
Well, yeah, well, distract from it is better, I think.
That's fair enough. Well, you made it just in time because it's about time to go ahead and do the horrible scopes, and then we can
Ooh,
go ahead and vent our spleens.
I need the link for that.
That's in our Discord chat,
Okay.
if that'll help you.
Okay, thank you.
No
I just
worries.
have to go get it. Be right there.
No worries. So while he's getting that together, let's go ahead and get you rolling over here. So time for your horrible scopes. For those of you that know your astrological sign, cool. If you don't, ask Jeeves to assign one for you. It doesn't matter. It's all good. We see you rolling. Aries, before you take your boat out on the water, it's a good idea to check it for any structural problems. It's possible to have rot happen almost anywhere, so check not just the hull, but the mounting for the engine, unless you like the idea of setting up a mast and tacking your way back into port. And if you don't know what that means, you shouldn't be on the water anyway. And check the prop, too. Remember, the restraining nut is left-hand thread. It's really important for you. Brigid?
Taurus.
Yep.
Roses are red, violets are not. Oranges are orange, and super expensive Canon SLR lenses are gray with a red ring. This isn't a poem or a limerick. Hell, it's barely coherent prattle. If you wanted a helpful horrible scope, you should have asked for one. So you get what you paid for, and you better be satisfied with that because we're not giving you a do-over here.
Gemini, before it gets too hot and wildfiery, get your bicycle outfitted with a small trailer because you're going on a pack mule vacation. A single person tent, little propane stove, remember, airflow, aluminum camping cooking gear, and lots of drink will make for a great week. Just plan out your path ahead of time, get a mount for your telephone, and a deep cycle lead acid battery for your ham radio gear while you're at it. If you don't have any of that gear already, save your money and just go bowling every day for a week. It's air conditioned and there's a bar.
Yeah, there's a piece about that, though. I don't know about anywhere else, but every bowling alley I've ever been to, they have somewhere where you can get the greasiest, oiliest chicken fingers and French fries while you're bowling. Why would you do that? Why would you ever do that?
How do you think they grease the alley?
Would you want that in the bowling ball holes, though? That's kind of gross.
Depending on how dank the bowling alley is, it might be the same stuff they put in the alley that they cooked your fries with.
I mean, yeah, you varnish that enough. That's true.
What have they scraped off it?
I will say that the bowling alley I grew up next to, or well, down the street, had excellent milkshakes.
Milkshakes. All right, thanks for putting that into my head. Where are we now? Cancer Moonchild. With the summer comes the need for better cooling at home. You built your last computer not too long ago, and you know how to make a static pressure box. Just do the same with your house. A couple box fans and different windows will keep the air flowing so you don't overheat. And if you're not sure how that works, just open your old fluid dynamics books from college since, they wouldn't let you sell them back to the school after you paid almost $300 for them. Cheap bastards.
There's some engineering students right now who are going to hear that one and are just like, too soon, man. It's too soon. Leo, with the rewind of the 80s, neon coloring is all the rage again. Do some creative sewing and you can make your own Tron Legacy inspired clothing. Just remember that EL wire needs a battery pack, and poorly made batteries can overheat. Remember the Galaxy Note 7? There's still about 4 months before Halloween. You can make it this time.
Virgo, here's something for you to ponder. Punk rockers like to buck the system. So, would one try to learn how to play the cello side saddle? It's not impossible, Hell, there's a marching harness for an Irish harp, so why not, right? This week, consider learning how to read music. Or does Duolingo not offer that? They don't.
Oh, that's actually kind of sad. By the way, the side saddle cello thing, reminding you that it was the mid to late 80s. The cello player that we had in our orchestra, she liked to wear mini skirts at the time because,
Ooh.
mini stretchy
Yeah.
skirts mid 80s, it was kind of the thing to do.
Mhm.
You can't straddle a cello
No.
in those. It doesn't work. So
No.
she played side saddle a lot. She was still pretty good.
Okay. Libra. There are DIY hacks for virtually everything these days, including for guitars. Oh no. For instance, bass players will wrap an elastic hairband at the top of their strings to deaden the sounds. But for guitars, you can take a folded up office note cube sheet, thread it through the bottom of the strings, and make it sound like a sitar. That would have saved the Beatles a lot of LSD and a trip to India to get that sound. This week, cancel your trip to India and buy some post-it notes instead.
Remember, post-it notes, TM.
That is trademark. That's true.
That's trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3M.
I want to try that, but what exactly is a cube sheet?
It's the generic term for what would otherwise be a post-it note. TM.
Oh,
3M.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to try that. Okay. Anyway.
It does work, apparently. I did see a video. This was actually inspired by a video that I saw.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. If you got a link to that, I'll look it up.
I'll have to
Okay,
hunt for it for
Scorpio.
you, yeah.
8 months. You have only 8 months to figure out what you're doing for Valentine's Day. You screwed up last time with flowers that your beau was allergic to, so you need to bring your A game this spring. It doesn't have to be expensive. It shouldn't have a metal plate welded on it that says KitchenAid this time.
I got harassed for this one. But I mean, KitchenAid, those things are built to last.
Dude, I bought my SO a KitchenAid food processor.
Yeah.
And this thing is, first off, it weighs like 40 pounds. This is one of the few models that still has like steel gears and things in it. It's not plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And we got it because I accidentally destroyed hers by trying to make hummus. And the magic smoke escaped from it when the motor ate itself.
Ooh.
Yeah, what I didn't realize is it had got caught up. Not going to get into that. But the point is that I burned out her old one, so I felt it was my duty to get her a new one. It just happened to be on a particularly significant date on the calendar that she ended up getting it. And to say she was ecstatic is an understatement, because it was better than it works better than her blender.
Well, good on you on that one.
Yeah, so I mean, appliances can be a gift if it's thought out and it's needed, and it and if somebody doesn't appreciate it, I mean, it's like when you hear about schools saying, well, you can't give this kind of a gift card over $25, but you can give them a fruit basket. Have you seen the cost of fruit baskets?
Incredible.
The hell is wrong with people?
Incredible edibles are wonderful, but oh my God, you're paying through the nose for it.
Dude, it would be cheaper for me to buy them a 20-pound turkey.
That is entirely possible. Sagittarius, a lot of computer-inspired stuff this week. Back in the day, you could only photocopy papers about 4 generations before they became illegible. With videotape, it was about the same. But once digital music hit the shelves, that was all out the window. The only way the studios had to battle it was to intentionally screw with the mass-distributed files or install backdoor software on Windows computers. Oh, Sony, how we love how your legal team went to collective vacation that year. And to think, one way of stopping the software was to use a black Sharpie on the outside track of a CD.
No, it wasn't just that. They screwed up with the Sony mini disc player. Originally, if you had 2 of the original models, which I actually happen to have one, you could plug them in together through the fiber ports and make a perfect copy of whatever was playing on one onto the other. They had, before that, the DVD players. Several DVD players were bricked when Sony updated with the blessing of Paramount behind them. The encryption system, the DRM system on their DVDs, but they never released a firmware patch for the DVD players.
Brilliant.
And they borked something like 30 models of DVD players. And there was a collective outcry, and Sony said, oh, well, we'll release patches, which they kind of sort of didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess.
Brigid, I want you to know, I was not, I did not write this one specifically for you. I just wrote this one. It just happens to be.
Capricorn. The summer of love was back in the 1960s. It was less about sex and more about actually loving each other and ourselves. Wouldn't it be nice to have another summer of love, but focused on sex this time? Thinking about it already, aren't you? We can tell. Everybody? Look at the giant smile Capricorn has right now. Those are the whitest teeth we've ever come across. Your dental technician must be proud of you.
I am in such trouble for that one. And I know it. And I don't care.
I'm grinning.
Tech? You're muted, aren't you?
Yeah, and now I just lost my place. Was I on Aquarius?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Thank you. It is the age of Aquarius. In Spider-Man Far From Home, Mysterio wasn't actually from an alternate universe.
Sorry, spoilers, everybody. Sorry, spoilers.
In Spider-Man No Way Home, there really is a multiverse. And in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, that multiverse is spaced around Spider-Man. Doesn't matter if it's Peter Parker, Ben Parker, Penny Parker, Peter Porker, Miles Morales, or Miguel O'Hara. You know what this means? It means that Marvel Comics has been teaching kids about theoretical physics and alternate timelines based on one of the saddest people in their universe. This week, watch all the Spider-Man TV shows you can find, especially the Japanese one. Yeah, and if you really want to go back, watch some Pepsi Man commercials while you're at it.
No.
Pepsi Man.
No.
YouTube that one, everybody. Oh yeah. You want to talk about something weird out of Japan?
Pisces. There's nothing wrong with wearing heeled boots and nylon stockings when you go horseback riding. The heels keep your stirrups in place, and the stockings will keep your knees from rubbing raw. Look, if it's good enough for William Shatner to suggest it to Sir Patrick Stewart, it's good enough for you, too. Just remember to wear more than just boots and stockings, okay?
It depends on what kind of farm you're on.
That's a very good point. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, I'm not trying hard enough. And if you'd like to bribe me to get something nicer or nastier for your or someone else's, you can just ask.
We do have a Patreon.
Mm. And, of course, if you are looking to get the printout of these, I'll have them posted online all over the place. Twitter, Discord, Tumblr, Facebook at the end of the week. And I did actually stream myself as I was working on the last set. So people could see me working on these and realize, yeah, no, he's not smoking nothing. He's not shooting anything. He's not snorting anything. This is just stuff falling out of his brain. Because there's some people who are just like, what are you on when you're writing these? I want some. Nah, man, this is just my brain. This is just how my brain works. So there's that.
So before we get off on shootings and all that mess,
Yeah.
just want to tell you people in the UK, especially in London, what are you doing, man?
What piece are we talking about? Because, I mean, the Queen is
Monkeypox.
Okay, well, yeah,
London is
there is that.
like the epicenter. They've got just
Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't because they went around having sex with monkeys.
no, it's not. But I'm like, okay, London is having like a huge outbreak of it now, and I'm like, wow. Like I think they're up to 175 cases.
Stop touching those monkeys.
Yeah, don't have sex with monkeys, okay? Not that we're kink shaming, just please don't.
Yeah, we were kind of discussing part of this before we got on air, Brigid and I. I mean, the idea that it can be vaccinated and treated with a basically with smallpox vaccine, probably slightly variated, is a good thing because it means we've done it before. God damn it, we can do it again. But the fact that it's one of these things that's kind of going around again, so to speak, because, smallpox, monkeypox, they are very, very similar, apparently, in some fashions. I mean, we kind of should know that these kinds of things are going to happen once in a while. I mean, it's a biological inevitability.
Yeah, I'm just kind of stunned that it's in 30 countries now.
Yeah, yeah. But if there's anything that we've learned over the last couple of years, it is impossible for any outbreak of anything to stay inside of any one country. It, I mean, it's almost inevitable that stuff is gonna move from place to place because we humans move from place to place. I'm not saying that we should go back to using horse-drawn carriages for. I mean, that wouldn't be so bad. I mean, horses are kind of cool, but you know, it sucks that it's been happening. There is no two ways about it. But again, on the flip side, congratulations to the Queen. 70 years. That's pretty damned impressive. Hun, it's time.
Yeah.
You've had a good run. Give somebody else the chair. Because Lord knows, that chair is probably not going to be sticking around for very much longer. And, I mean, let's face it. You being known as the Queen is going to last for a very, very long time. I don't think that you're going to outlast Freddie Mercury's knowledge of being the Queen, but, you can, just relax for a while. You've earned it.
I think she's going to have to. I think the fact that she's having to bail out on so many events lately, I think she's tired.
She needs just to have time with the corgis. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Just maybe corgis aren't such a great idea. I mean, they do house ravens over there too, and I'm pretty sure any one of those ravens could pick up any one of those corgis and just make off with it. And I don't think that would be such a good idea.
But they're so cute. Did you see the parade of corgis?
Oh, the corgis. Well, I was going to say the ravens are actually kind of cool. They're cute, but
But the
okay.
parade of corgis with their little red jackets was just too adorable.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, there's that. So let's go back to the top of the month that we just took the time off on. Because as much as I would love to talk about the shooting here in Buffalo and where this son of a bitch came from, as much as I would love to discuss the shooting in Texas and how Beto O'Rourke called out these sons of bitches for their ineptitude, or the news media for calling out the absolute insanity that is the legal framework that says the police don't have a legal obligation to go out there and get into harm's way to save people. They're not legally bound to do that. I'm going to pause right there on this one because this is important. This is so. I don't want to be using off. I don't want to. You know what? I don't want to be using a fuck ton of fuck right now. But the fact that in the United States of America, the police force, forces, plural, because all of them are under no legal obligation to protect and defend people. The mantra of to serve and protect is marketing only. They are under no legal obligation to go into harm's way to save people. For me, I don't know about anybody else because I'm going to turn it loose to you guys. I cannot use the word fuck enough to say how much I cannot believe that this is where we have gone as a country. I cannot use that word enough.
Well, I actually think it's a word that people should be kind of staying away from, because if they get rid of Roe v. Wade, it's going to be the one thing that women aren't going to want to do.
We're going to get to that. We are going to
No, I'm tying it to the teachers and the police and everything, because think of it this way: the same people who are saying arm the teachers, don't punish the police, don't defund the police who are doing anything, but arm the teachers, get retired veterans in there. Yeah, the people with PTSD who have probably watched kids in other countries get shot and are still in therapy for it. I'm not attacking them. I'm saying that is not a position you want to put them in, because you're going to harm all the progress that they may have made in their therapy by doing that to those people. That's not fair to them. That's not fair to the teachers. And yet these same people who want to do this shit to our veterans and our teachers and our children are the same ones who are saying, oh, you can't have an abortion.
And
we should kill the people who give abortions. And we should bring up the women as having committed homicide.
And I want to make sure that we drop into here. Let us also remember the shooting here in Buffalo. The shooter was fired at by a retired Buffalo police officer with a weapon. And the shooter had already planned ahead for this and had armor to prevent them from going down. So you want to go ahead and have teachers in body armor? Good luck.
Yeah, and here's the best part. The body armor that he was wearing, they want to make a law saying that regular civilians can't get it. If regular civilians can't get it, then that means the teachers can't use it, which means if the shooter goes in with the stuff that can go through that, the teachers will have body armor that doesn't work very well.
They don't give a shit about the teachers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't pay them. They wanted them to go in and die during COVID. Give a shit. So, but maybe this is a cunning plan to where they can, go in and say, okay, we're armed now, and you either let us teach CRT or we're going to start taking out kids.
I saw that. I like that idea, but I really still don't. I mean, we know for well that it's satire. Talking about that.
Yeah, we know it's satire. I mean, the only thing that we can do to protect kids in school now, because we've got these, people that care more about their guns than they do their kids, is maybe start putting stickers on all the kids' heads that says, "I'm a fetus." Maybe they'll give a shit.
Yeah. Stephanie was saying you should see the Bureau of the Fifth Column's take on the Arm the Teachers mantra. I would love to read up on that. if you've got a link that I can look at later, I ain't gonna do it tonight. No goddamn way. But I would love to have a link so that I can look over stuff later. But it also said
You mean Bo?
uh Beau
Is it
of the
Bo in the
Fifth.
fifth?
Yeah, I thought that was Bureau of the
Oh,
Fifth.
Bo
Beau
in
of
the
the
fifth
Fifth.
column. Oh, he's
I'm
awesome sauce.
okay. Then
I
which
love his tweets.
I've probably got him in my Twitter feed somewhere, so it's just a matter of tracking it down. Okay, and had also said the body armor that is being banned is obsolete and has not been used for years. Small
No,
problem with that, it's still somewhere available.
And they're talking about banning Kevlar, which is obsolete, which means the legislation to ban Kevlar does nothing.
Yep.
no. What was it? It was
Oh, it's got a YouTube. Oh, okay.
they were planning
I'll
on
track it
banning level 4 body armor.
I don't know what that would be.
It's the highest rating of personal body armor that you can buy. It'll stop pistol rounds, rifle rounds. It will stop or deflect a direct shot from a 30 caliber bullet.
That's
Um,
impressive.
Yeah. And so it these things had the plates in them. It's designed to stop. The plates are designed to stop the armor piercing rounds. I mean, this is some heavy duty stuff. This is the stuff that they're actually talking about. That was part of that same legislation that wanted to get rid of Kevlar. They were also saying level 4 should not be obtainable by civilians. And I'm going, okay, well, what are you going to give the goddamn teachers? Thoughts and prayers?
Yep.
No, it's gonna.
The police, I'm sorry, the police right now exist to collect revenue and protect property.
Hey, so do
Or,
politicians.
or they can protect and serve the shit out of you if you're black. I didn't just say that, did I?
You might have. Joseph, I want to kind of get your input on this one because we know full well a lot of these news cycle items, these big flashy items, get spewed all over the place. I mean, I saw that the Buffalo shooting was picked up Al Jazeera, BBC, Jerusalem
Oh,
Times, all over the place. But the one that I wanted to get your input on was that there was, I don't remember who it was that said it or exactly when, but there was someone in a legislative position, I believe, who made some kind of reference to getting ballistic blankets that could be put up in the windows in an active shooter environment so that the kids have got these nice, wonderful, colorful blankets that, you know, if there's a problem, you hang it up on the windows so that if a bullet does come through the window, it probably won't go through these blankets and go after these kids.
yeah, that part I didn't follow, but I can tell you that I am following the aftermath, and yeah, I'm really interested to see how it's going to be anything done this time. And it's one of the first times since probably my childhood that I have a feeling that there are going to be some efforts made by the Democrats to overcome this, because and after that, because of what usually happens is that the Democrats draft something, they put it forward, and it's killed by the Republicans. But it's going to be really interesting to see what reasoning or rationalization the Republicans use this time to block the bill.
Don't forget, you're forgetting one key thing about the Democrats. They're going to be begging for money every step of the way from everybody. Oh, we need money to get past the Republicans. We need money to get past the Republicans. We need money to get past the Republicans. And it's still going to fail no matter how much money they get. But they're going to need their money.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, now this may have changed since then because I haven't checked today, but since the school shooting in Texas, we've had 20 more mass shootings in the U.S. You just don't hear about them.
Reminding people that in the U.S., a mass shooting is considered any shooting where there are 4 people minimum who have been injured or killed,
Not including the shooter.
not including the shooter. Now, we know full well that it is entirely possible for someone with a 9mm handgun with a, let's see if I remember right, 11 plus 1 rounds, which would mean in the handle 11 bullets and 1 up in the chamber ready to fire. So effectively 12 rounds. Who could just arbitrarily decide, now's the time, today's the day, here we go. Pull it out and conceivably destroy 12 people. Conceivably. And we know for well that there are people who will end up using long guns instead. Notice I'm saying long guns for a reason. There's some who will decide that they will find an old pump-action shotgun, load it up, and decide that they're going to replay The Evil Dead. We know full well there are going to be people out there who will do these things. We do not have a noticeable statistical difference in mental health in the US as compared to the rest of the world. The difference in the United States is we have approximately 1/4 of the world's population, if that. And we hold approximately 50% of all guns in the world in civilian hands. You do the math, you find out where it is. And for anybody that wants to go ahead and say, that's not the problem, then why don't you come up with a solution for the problem that you think it is? Because we collectively can guarantee you haven't, because all we need to do is do what they did with Watergate. Follow the money.
Well,
Or
it's just
the lack
the
of it.
politicians don't really have the will to do anything about it. I don't know that it will happen this time. I would think that Columbine would have done something. I would think Sandy Hook with, first and second graders, that would have done something. The last time that we had any major legislation passed was when they banned bump stocks. And it took, somebody in Las Vegas that injured 800 people to get that passed. Now, I think he only, quotation marks, only shot like close to 500 people. But it took that to get them to do anything.
Yeah,
You know,
and
a favorite comedian of mine made a really valid point. Steve Hofstetter,
yep.
American, excellent comedian. Got to watch him. I actually got to see him live in person before he was the level of fame that he has now. I've even emailed him a few times. He remembers the event that I was at. We talk about it. He's a great guy. And one of the things he joked about, but not joked about, the seriousness, was gun control and gun laws. And somebody was the thing about Steve Hofstetter is he's incredibly smart. He's the level of smart I wish I could be. And somebody got on his case about guns, and he pointed out that Australia, a country founded by criminals, okay, figured out gun control better than anybody else and made it work.
Mm-hmm.
They banned guns. And you're right. The only people who had guns at that point were the bad guys. But the thing is that for the bad guys to get them, it's really hard. You can buy a pistol here in the US for a couple hundred. You want to buy a pistol illegally in Australia, you're better off trying to buy drugs. because you're talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars, and that's not even with ammunition on the black, and that's assuming you can actually find somebody on the black market willing to actually take risk.
Yep.
And a little bit of shootings they had after banning them is nowhere close to like here in the US. In the US, this year alone, using the metric that Shujin talked about in terms of what is defined as a mass shooting involving 4 or more people, right? Okay. So far, as of the 3rd of June, so just this weekend, 232 mass shootings since January 1st, 2022 in the US.
What day of the year are we into?
I'm sorry, not 2,000. 232 as of the start of this year.
And
no other country has broken double digits.
How many days into the year are we?
We're halfway. Well, not even quite. End of June will be halfway.
Yeah. Let me see. Today's Julian date is 22/154. So it's 154 days into the year.
Yep. We've had more mass shootings than we've had days in the year.
Yep.
And I need to point something out. Actually, something that Stephanie had also pointed out, and only a fraction of the population of the U.S. have guns. Correct. But adding to that, we have more guns, civilian guns in the U.S. than we have citizens in the U.S.
Also, on top of that, we have a lot of people who are registered gun owners calling for reasonable gun legislation. They don't mind doing a little extra sitting down, waiting for the gun an extra week or two. They don't mind filling out another form if it's going to potentially save the lives of some kids. It's the extremists, the ones who are like, oh, if you say that I have to wait an extra week for my gun, you're violating my rights. No, we're finishing the background check. You know, the kind of same. We do background checks in finances before giving out loans and mortgages. We do background checks, security background checks, before we get certain kinds of jobs. We do background checks, obviously not very well, for the police. We do background checks for a lot of things in this country.
We do background checks and training and certification for people to be entrusted with tractor trailer driving.
Oh, yes. Commercial driver's licenses. I had to study for one of those. That's a lot more involved than just your standard driver's license. Here's another one. I got to listen to a rebuttal from a Marine marksman instructor.
I was gonna ask about that one.
Yeah, I loved his rebuttal to somebody else saying, "Oh, I'm a retired vet, or Marine or whatever," and he pointed out that what goes on in the Marines? Well, you have to get recertified every year on your firearms, and it's a 2-week process: 1 week of paper, 1 week of live fire, and that you're not allowed to have your firearms, in the same room you sleep in, at certain ratings, at certain positions within the Marines, and so on.
Yep.
And I was listening to that going, yeah, this it makes sense, and that's what the people are demanding in this country: sensible restrictions. If I have a history of mental illness
or domestic violence,
or even let's say I have a domestic violence record, I should not be owning a firearm. That's not healthy. Okay, it's not safe for the people around me.
Here's another one, and Joseph, I want your input on this one, because I don't think that this is something that happens, or even if there is a term for it in France. Is there one for road rage?
Oh, no, I think it's literally translated Rage de route. I'm not even sure. I've heard it used before, but...
Yeah, here in the U.S., The
It's
fact
a
that we
problem.
have a term for road rage, where people literally get upset while driving, and people have exited their vehicles drawing a weapon.
Hmm. It happens here all the
Mhm.
time.
And it's usually something. It's not necessarily a gun, although in this country, because of the proliferation of guns, the statistical chance of somebody drawing a gun during road rage, especially if they own one, is much higher. Um,
Much higher.
More importantly, it's even higher in states that allow open carry laws.
Yeah.
That's a real big one. But if somebody gets out of their car and they pull out a baseball bat, you stay in your car. Your windshield, your side windows, they're going to take a couple hits before they break. That gives you a chance to potentially gives you a chance to get the hell out of there. They pull out a pistol, the bullet's going through that unless you've got bulletproof glass. So until manufacturers of cars start installing bulletproof glass and armor plated panels in your cars, because bullets going through that side door like tissue through tissue paper. Um, yeah, when I go out there, if I got I don't get it. I'm in the right hand lane. Somebody comes up behind me. They're tailgating me. They're flashing their light, honking their horn, wanting me to pull over so they can pass. And it's like, dude, the left lane's open. You pass in the left lane. Do I tap my brakes? No, because I don't know if they're gonna swerve around, slam on the brakes, pull out a gun, and try to shoot me.
Here
It's
they
gotten to that
will.
point.
They will. And the thing about where I live now is they decided to do this, it's not open carry. That's still not a thing here, but they decided to do the constitutional carry to where you don't have to have a permit or register it or anything like that. You're just allowed to carry it unless you're a convicted felon and they happen to catch you, then you can get arrested. But ever since they made that a thing here to where you don't have to register it and you don't have to have a permit, uh, road rage was a problem anyway, with people forcing cars off the road, forcing cops off the road. Uh, now they will stop at a red light and pop out a gun. And what's really weird about where I live, we didn't have our first mass shooting ever in this city until this year.
You know what?
And now, since we've had a mass shooting, the people are getting better aim, and we're having a lot more homicides now because people will get in an argument at the frickin' gas station, and then you have 3 or 4 people that start pulling out guns. It's
Question.
it's crazy.
I'd like to actually piggyback off that real quick before you ask your question. I just want to remind people of something here in the U.S. Okay, people talk about police being in a line of fire with traffic incidents, things like that, how the likelihood of them getting shot, especially by a road rage incident, things like that. But collectively speaking, people who work in logging, woodworking, no, not woodworking, but logging, yeah, construction workers, sanitation workers, people, people who take out the garbage, things like that, truckers, miners, people who work in agricultural environments, statistically speaking, have more dangerous jobs than cops. And that's even after accounting for the rise in mass shootings. So when those people fail to do their jobs, they get fired.
Yeah,
What's
but I
going
mean,
on here?
here just people are acting out now because they've got permission to do so, and everybody is carrying. And they keep saying that the answer is for more people down here to have guns. And, that's the thing. Before they passed this constitutional carry thing, last year you would occasionally have, somebody show up with a gunshot wound to the foot or the leg or something like that because people here can't shoot worth a shit. Um, but every weekend you would have these people that would go to the hospital with, they wouldn't tell who shot them or anything like that. And it was a really stupid accident. The first mass shooting that we had was at a Circle K, and what prompted it was some argument in the parking lot. And so people started drawing weapons. And the guy was such a horrible shot that it took him 4 attempts to hit his target. So he shot 3 other people he didn't mean to. before he got the fourth one. Okay. I mean, that is some stupid, dangerous shit.
Yeah.
And then my daughter and I were on our way to Kung Fu, going down the main, highway that you have to go down to get anywhere in this town. And we were scared we were going to get shot. We were stopped at a red light, and there were cars on either side of us. We were in the center lane, and the windows rolled down on either side of us, and people in both cars were leaning out the windows, pointing guns at each other. And here we were sitting in the middle. It freaked us the hell out, and I floored it and just got the hell out of there. But I was like, and this is not a big town.
Yeah, public safety tip. What you did was perfect. You floored it. You got the hell out of there. You disregarded whatever traffic safety you had to, but probably maintained as much as you could. The other thing is that for people who are in that situation who can't floor it and get the hell out of there, you need to get out of line of sight. That's first and foremost.
She ducked, but I floored it. But I was stunned because, the driver on her side where she was leaning out the window pointing a gun, and then there was a passenger on the left side, of me that was leaning out the window pointing a gun, and I was like, "What the?"
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is what you did is correct, but there's also other things for other people who can't floor it and get the heck out of there. They might be barricaded by other cars. One of the things that you can do is get the heck out of line of sight of the shooters, because out of sight, out of mind partially works in those scenarios. The other is make sure you get yourself something between you and the shooter that's substantial. So, if there's one of those concrete brick planters on the side of the road, try to put that between you and the shooter. If there's only cars, put an engine block between you and the shooter. Get down by the wheel well of the front of where the engine block of whatever car it is. If you have to vacate your vehicle and get behind another vehicle, make sure that engine block, that will stop a bullet. Even of many high-powered rifles, it'll stop a bullet. But you really need to get out of line of sight and get away from that area. So like I was saying, what you did, Brigid, flooring it, get the hell out of there, that's perfect. That's great. But for other people who don't have that option, here are just some other tips real quick.
Oh, I mean, ever since they loosened the restrictions here, I know that there have been a lot more cops shot here locally. And also a lot more incidents of domestic violence to where, people are barricading themselves in houses with family members, and they're having to actually call in SWAT to get them out. And this used to not be a thing that happened here. I mean, it's this little town of 100,000 people. And these people have lost their minds. And it's a majority, white here. It's not gang related or anything like that. The county that I live in, population is 86% white. And most of it is a bunch of white people that are whacked out on meth or, manufacturing fentanyl or just good old boys, whatever. And they'll get drunk at the biker bar, and then people start talking shit out in the parking lot, and then people start pulling out weapons. And it's every weekend now, or every day that ends in a Y.
That's funny that you point that out, because I wanted to kind of follow up. The constitutional carry, and I'm going to use scare quotes for that one, partly because you little redheaded bitch, why? Really? You took the easy way out by just dying
on us?
Pissant. Anyway, fine, I'll use it. The constitutional carry, because that's not really a thing, no matter how much these people talk about it, because that's not the way that it's supposed to be. The question. You said
what is
that
a
it was
constitutional carry?
Oh.
It's these far right wing people saying that they have an absolute right to carry a firearm because of the Second Amendment of the Constitution, and so that means that any kind of paperwork or registration or permit or classes or any other requirements is an infringement of their rights.
Doesn't the Constitution say own? It doesn't say carry.
Well, it
actually says a well-armed militia.
No, it doesn't. It says a well-regulated militia.
Regulated. Sorry,
now,
not armed. Regulated. I apologize.
the way that the interpretation has gone, and
Interpretation.
the
Twisted.
you're going to think that this is absolutely insane. And for anybody that does not know about this, which is most of the rest of the world, you're going to think that this is insane. We agree with you.
Yes.
The interpretation over the last, give or take, 50 years has been a well-regulated militia being blah-de-blah-de-blah, the right of the people to have arms shall not be infringed. The interpretation has been that this quote-unquote constitutional carry is that people should not be infringed on. They should not have to register. They should not have to go through any kind of licensing. They don't need to go through any training. It is an absolute right. They should be allowed to have weaponry, period, end of story.
Of any kind
of any
that they
kind.
want.
So
Which was the stuff was originally written with the musket in mind by you.
Right.
there were motorized and multi-firing weapons at the time also, but be that as it may, where this goes nuts, absolutely insane, the writing for it was uninterpreted up until roughly 50 years ago, again, roughly, as those in state militias, those people, meaning the militia, those people, well-regulated militiamen, should be permitted to own weaponry equal to the federal government's, so that should the federal government overstep itself, the states can revolt against that overreach. This was written at a time when the idea of the individual states were state nations, and the federal government was supposed to be the umbrella organization to oversee how they all worked together. The insanity part is this: a comma. If you read the statute as written, the inclusion or an exclusion of a single comma makes the difference between the well-regulated militia are the people versus the well-regulated militia is the public. And the well-regulated part is, well, these people should have weaponry in order to be part of a militia, versus the militia is its own organization and should be regulated, and those people should be the ones to have weaponry and be trained and such in them. And some states ratifying that amendment had a comma in their paperwork, and some didn't. And the inclusion or the exclusion of that comma makes all the difference in the interpretation of the insanity that is mutually assured destruction by means of a gun. As the meme goes, change my mind. Is that not the most insane piece of technical legal mumbo jumbo ever?
Oh, yeah. I don't see how that could stand to reason.
But it does.
But it
Just
did.
because you didn't grow up in this country.
Yeah.
Well, it means that reason is absent. That's all.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. Reason
but-
is absent.
To a degree, yeah. You're right.
But I mean, back in the 70s, the National Rifle Association used to promote responsible gun ownership and training classes and taught you how to secure your weapon and clean it and make sure that, you assumed it was loaded unless you had verified that it was not loaded. And I don't know when this happened, when they went off the rails, but they decided to get into the whole, people ought to be able to own any damn thing that they want. And we don't care if you're responsible or not.
I think part of it came up when Moses took over the damn place. There are a handful of rules that I still remember about guns. Rule number 1: the gun is always loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number 2: the gun is always loaded.
And the rule 3 that I learned was get an adult. Don't
That-
touch it.
That's not a bad one. But
I'm
seriously,
going to go with Stone Kettle's rule 2. There are no accidents. With guns, there are no accidents. It's only negligence.
Yeah.
Or you're intending to kill somebody. But, like if you happen to have one that's in your purse and you set it down and it discharges, that's not an accident. That's negligence because you did not secure your weapon.
if you
Same
have
as with all those kids who accidentally shot their siblings.
Exactly. That's negligence.
Yeah, the kid may have accidentally shot the sibling, but it's negligence on the part of the parent.
Yep.
I cannot tell you how many times I have read news reports of toddlers who have shot their siblings, who will grow up not having the cognitive ability to own those memories, fortunately enough, but will live with the knowledge from the rest of society and their family that they killed. And these are children in single-digit ages. And for what? It's the price of doing business. When we had Tom Verdi on with us, it's exactly what he said, man. It's considered the price of doing business just for the privilege of owning these weapons. I don't like to soapbox a lot, and I don't like to get emotional in the middle because I consider myself, the center point of trying to navigate us all. But God damn it, he said it the same way. After Sandy Hook, who cared? Who was going to do anything? I really do believe that there is something that's changing. I really do believe that there is a swell to make things change. And God damn it, these people that keep saying, well, if you outlaw guns, then only outlaws are going to have guns. Yeah. If you outlaw
Which makes
the
it
guns,
really easy. Here's a benefit to that. And this is something that I'm not hearing people speak up enough, and I'd really like to hear them. You know what the benefit about the bad guys only being the guys have guns? It makes it really easy to figure out who the police should be shooting at. Oh, look,
Yes.
person with a gun. They're obviously a bad guy. Bang, bang. They don't even have to wait.
there's
How's that? You want the police supported? You want them to have, the guns? You want them to have the protections and stuff? Make it real easy for them. Outlaw the guns the way Australia did, and that way only the people who have the guns are going to be the ones who are going to be the first and foremost primarily targeted. Oh, look.
That's why I have such a hard time with the open carry bullshit. Um, I can't remember if it was Nevada or Arizona, but how do you know who a bad guy with a gun is? You don't know until they start shooting. And there was a couple who came into, I don't remember if it was, a diner or something like that and shot some cops. But it was an open carry state, and nobody knew that they were going to go in there and start shooting until they started shooting. And the cops didn't even have time to react, and they were dead.
And again, back here in Buffalo, the good guy with a gun was an ex-cop, trained in how to use his weapon and hit someone who was already prepared. A, a former cop with a gun is supposed to be the good guy with a gun. Yes, we do say, in a lot of respects, all cops are bastards. We get that. But he did the thing that we expect the police to do. And he was overwhelmed by a singular 18-year-old man. Yes, I'm going to call him a man because he's 18 years old. He is past the age of majority. He is responsible for his own actions.
But if you got a citizen walking around that can, outgun a police officer, that's a problem. That should not be.
No, it shouldn't.
This is escalating. I mean, January, 34 mass shootings. February, 36 mass shootings. March, 42 mass shootings. April, 57 mass shootings. May, 61 mass shootings. And on the first day of June, another mass shooting.
Yep.
Well, it's not going to go down anytime soon because,
No.
I mean, what I basically see happening is that the economy is being just sucked dry, and the people who are most affected, they're not being told the real reason why that is, and instead, the politicians or whatever, they set the people against each other, make it a question of race like that. But like I've said 1,000 times before, the real cause of the problem, it's not it's not that simple. But I mean,
oh, it's very simple.
It is.
It's great.
Well, hold on. Let him finish.
Yeah, it's just again coming back to lack of autonomous thought. I mean, most of the population, I don't understand what's going on, but most of the population, you either take the responsibility for yourself and you take it upon yourself to judge the quality of everything for yourself. Otherwise, you let everyone else or someone else do it for you. And that's just open to abuse. And I mean, most of the population, most of us are basically waiting for scraps from the table higher up. That's how we live. Without even any consideration about the real quality of our work, what it's actually contributing to society, and what we're getting back for it. All most people seem to do is just just accept whatever rewards they get, and they consider it rewards. Once again, I'm trying to get into a lot in the shortest way possible.
What kills me about all this, it's fomented on purpose, and that is what infuriates me.
I don't think. I think we're seeing I think it's I guess I can make it simpler because I mean it's a result. What we're seeing is a result because these people who have controlling the economy, they do what they do, and then you get results. Everyone's unhappy, and it's like an after the fact distraction. And the end result is people. There is no solution because people do not understand why they are unhappy, and
it's being done deliberately though at CPAC. That is what floored me, was that these far right-wing nut jobs, and I will call them that, and if that offends anybody, I don't care. I'm over it.
CPAC is religious.
That's like the far right conservative. It used to be the conservative, values people, bullshit that we're all like, religion and family and, family
Okay.
values and all this bullshit. But at CPAC
It,
this year, they're openly, calling for, you know, an authoritarian autocracy here,
oh yeah.
a theocracy, and saying that, I mean, they said the quiet part out loud. The reason why they're trying to get rid of abortion rights and birth control and all that, it's not pro-life in any way.
No,
It's
they just
they don't want white people to be outpaced by minorities in this country. So it's all about racism.
Okay, now
And
hold on a second right here, because as we're getting into the last half an hour, uh, I do want us to hit on the first piece that ended up coming up, which is the
can
leak.
I?
Well, I'll get you, but I just want to make sure that we all understand. When we finish this, which I'm hoping we can do relatively soon, I do want us to end up hitting on the Roe v. Wade abortion issue that got leaked at the beginning of the month, which right off the bat was just like, I picked a fucking wrong month to go ahead and go on vacation. So
oh, what? The infants as commodities? Yeah.
we're gonna get to that, but I want to make sure that we close off this piece. And Joseph, the floor is yours, because you get the least amount of time. I want you to go ahead and button it up.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say to Brigid that we're talking about two different things that overlap. I was talking about the economy,
Yeah.
and we're talking more about the authoritarianism, which is religion. And yes, the manipulation is from the get-go. It's before.
But these wealthy people are the ones that are doing the manipulating.
Agreed.
But they're actually taking advantage of an existing mindset or lack thereof. They're just
Really?
exploiting.
So
Yeah.
banning co-living is an existing mindset?
Yeah,
Huh?
that's the thing
No,
too.
it's not.
What's kind? No,
That's
I'm
not an
talking.
existing. That's not an
There,
existing mindset.
there
Co-living
are.
has been in existence for a long time.
No.
Hold it. Too many pieces overlapping at this point.
Yeah. Well, you're once again. The co-living has nothing to do with the people controlling the economy.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Because they're the ones banning it.
Co-living? What do you mean by that?
Co-living is
mean-
where you have multiple people who are not related going in on, like, say, a house where they're all paying part of the fee of the house for the mortgage or something,
Rental.
so that they have a place to live, because apartment rent is skyrocketing in this country. Companies,
yeah.
businesses are buying homes and apartment complexes way above their actual value, then holding on to them, raising the rates sky high to the point where people literally can't afford it and are getting evicted. But then
Yeah.
rather than lowering the rates and getting people in there, they keep them high.
Yeah, I understand.
And then
now.
they encourage city councils to ban people living in their cars or anywhere else for that matter. And now,
Okay.
and what millennials have been doing recently is they figured out, well, if the four of us decide to go in on a mortgage or lease agreement for a house, and we all work full-time jobs or even 2 full-time jobs, then we can pay this thing off. We can share the space. We can share the responsibilities. It's not optimal for families living environment, but we'll have a place to live because we can't afford apartments by ourselves. In Kansas City, they just banned that 8-0 in favor.
In
But
Kentucky.
to be clear, what I meant by manipulation was a more like indoctrination, setting people up to tolerate this kind of shit. To not question authority, to
normalize it.
Well, just like I always say, would any one of us stand for any of this shit?
No.
We who think for ourselves, no. But
These
this shit passes.
politicians, but these politicians that are multimillionaires now and being paid off by other corporations and things, yeah, they want this.
Well, of course. But I mean, well, they want it, but I mean,
they're getting it.
Yeah, but that wasn't what it was saying though. But Yeah. Well, if most people thought for themselves, there would be a revolution. But since most people don't, it's tolerated.
Well, it's kind of hard to find time to revolt if you're having to work 3 jobs.
There is something to be said for that.
There is a point where you will, I think we're well beyond that point. But do you see what I'm saying? I mean,
Oh,
if
Yes.
people
absolutely.
don't make any value judgments for themselves, they're not going to understand the reason for their own unhappiness, and that makes them completely unable to correct anything, basically. And the people doing the manipulation, where I'm talking about religious upbringing and all that, um, they're setting people up to be that way. And of course, that's perfectly fine with the corporations and the politicians because they can take advantage of that.
Yeah. And for anybody that wonders, well, how could this be? I can sum it up in one word: capitalism. Because it's all about making the extra money. Doesn't matter how.
Unrestricted capitalism.
You know what?
Yeah.
I stand corrected. You're quite right.
Yeah, unrestricted.
So let's finish off the show with the piece that made me go, okay, you know what? It's only been a day. We need to come back the fuck on. I can't do this. No, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the time off. I'm gonna be a good little dribble. I'm just gonna do my thing. We weren't 3 fucking days into the month, and we had a not unprecedented, but definitely surprising, to put it mildly, leak of the Roe versus Wade dissent that was penned and was probably going to be how the court was going to lay out stuff in short time frame. We're at this point still unsure who leaked it. There are a number of possible reasons as to why, either from a conservative side or from a liberal side. There are a number of people who have gone ahead and said, this is shocking but not surprising, which would otherwise seem to be diametrically opposed, but not. There are people who have been figuratively calling for the head of some senator from Maine, I could be wrong on where, who poo-pooed the whole, no, they gave all the right answers, and I've talked with them over a beer, maybe not over a beer, that everything's going to be fine. It's settled law. It's precedent. Bullshit. You got snow jobbed. And I can only say the only coup of the United States government that this is even close to was Project Snow White by the Church of Scientology that infiltrated all levels of government, including federal, in order to find out what the government had on the Church of Scientology so that they could abscond with, destroy information, and manipulate how it was dealt with. And for anyone that doesn't know about that, you can go ahead and, as the expression goes, Wikipedia that. I have been livid. I have been livid even before this came out, going back to when the Senate and the turtle in charge decided, no, where it's too soon before an election, we should go ahead and wait. Oh, we're 3 months before an election, let's go ahead and install 3 Supreme Court justices because we can. You lying motherfucker.
One of them was installed after early voting had already started. Miss Handmaid herself. Voting had already started, and they rammed her through.
And this decision on Roe versus Wade,
Well, the leak, I think you started off by that. And I think the leak was, well, as you said, I think they were testing waters. I mean, everyone's getting near a breaking point. I mean, most people are just like full of rage. And these guys, before actually passing the law, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they leaked it just to test the waters to see exactly how far if they could go, whether it be accepted or not.
Kids as commodities was disgusting. Really?
It gets even worse than that because there are a couple of pieces. There were a number of people who had suggested it was a clerk with a liberal bend in order to warn everyone, and that idea held water for me. And then the second one came out that was it was leaked through the conservative channels in order to lock in those who were on the conservative side so that they couldn't wiggle out of, they couldn't get away from, because then they had agreed with the with Alito, and I'm going to get to that in a second. They were agreeing with Alito, but maybe they were having second thoughts, and they were thinking, maybe the idea of going back to 17th century law, not even in this country, there's your piece over there, when people were talking about how having abortions made the woman, I forget the exact terminology, doesn't really much matter, but let's just go with unclean, to put it mildly.
It was
Maybe,
legal though back
but
then.
but then they wanted to maybe not be part of that and swing the vote. But if you leak it out there, now everybody is going to find out which judge changed their mind and shouldn't be given the full rights and privileges of the position of authority for later. So it still comes down to this motherfucker, Alito, has decided, according to this leak, that they're going to not use precedent from this government in the United States, but that they're going to use some legal argument that dates back to the 17th century from a government that is not this government. And that, in and of itself, shows how absolutely reprehensible that son of a bitch is, because he's going to use any and every piece of legal trickery of dubious quality in order to ram through this 50-year long wedge once and for all. And I have been livid for a half decade at this point. This was just the topper in the whole damn thing. You remember how I said earlier that I don't like to get up on my soapbox and be angry or upset or whatever? That's because this is what ends up happening, and I don't give you guys the opportunity to talk and break in, and that's my own damned fault, and I am terribly sorry. I'll shut the fuck up now.
If they want to go back to originalism, which is what they try to do to be creative or whatever, abortion used to be legal way back then when we still had midwives that were practicing medicine before gynecology was invented. Midwives used to do it here, and it was legal at the time to do it up until quickening, which was about, 15, 16 weeks. Once you felt quickening, then, midwives would not do abortions, but it didn't even become regulated until the, AMA regulated it in the 1900s. So how about that?
Is it fair to say that I've been holding all this shit back for a very, very long time and doing a pretty good job of keeping it hidden from everybody for the most part?
I All I
You
can
and
say
I,
is
you and
we have
I,
been telling people for years this was coming and that they would not stop with abortion, that they would be coming for your birth control next.
Yeah, they're already looking at how to get rid of the Plan B and all the other pills.
And they've already arrested some women, for having stillbirths. Um,
Because they suspected they might have had an.
well, it's criminalizing women for being pregnant now. I mean, there have been people who have been charged for, exposing a fetus to toxic fumes. It could get to the point to where if you're a woman and you're of childbearing age, then you might not be allowed to, say, work in the medical field because you might be exposed to bodily fluids. If you happen to be 4 months pregnant and get caught speeding 5 miles over the speed limit, that might be fatal endangerment. There's all kinds of weird shit where this can go.
and to paraphrase from somebody else once upon a time ago, back in the 50s, there was something in political ideologies, something called God, the the domino effect, or the I forget what they called it at the time, but the idea that if one country falls to communism, then others will fall to communism, and we can't allow that to have happen. I'm pulling that one out because the United States has a long history of doing this kinds of thing. And some have
Mhm.
pointed out that if they come for your abortion rights because that is your bodily autonomy rights and throw it back to the individual states, well, what else then falls at that point? Because then, as was pointed out, birth control, birth control pills, that also then means that the possibility of same sex marriages, because that
Mhm.
then goes back to the states. And Joseph, I want your input on this one because there is at least, we're not going to name and shame. There is at least one state here in the continental 48 that is putting it on the books, if it isn't already on the books, ready to go once Roe versus Wade is overthrown. And I say overthrown. If a woman exits the state where abortion is no longer legal, travels to a state where abortion is legal, has an abortion in a state where it is legal, and then returns to their original state where abortion is illegal, that they can be prosecuted for having an abortion as if they had it inside of their own state's borders.
Yep, they can be charged for murder.
And I
Yeah,
want your
what can
input
I
on
say?
that one.
What can I say to that? I mean, it's just pure manipulation. People just, yeah, they just authoritarianism. They want to decide for you what's good for you to better exploit you.
And some states haven't even waited, for Roe v. Wade to fall. I mean, there are several states with trigger laws that will go into effect instantly if
Mm-hmm.
it's overturned. Oklahoma said to hell with it, went ahead and made it illegal anyway. They didn't wait.
The thing of it is, until this ruling comes out, it would be an unconstitutional ban. But
Doesn't matter.
but you would still have to go through the legal wranglings in order to say this is an illegal stoppage. I want to have an abortion. It is still currently legal federally. This is unconstitutional. But then you run the risk of, well, how long can you go through the court? How quickly can you go through the court? And once the thing comes down from SCOTUS, if they say, yeah, Roe versus Wade is gone, you're SOL and there's nothing you can do about it.
There's still nothing you can do about it. There are a couple of cases in California. Um, Abortion is legal in California. It's still illegal federally, but they have charged women with, you know, fatal homicide and arrested them. And they were, later found not guilty because the charges were not legitimate, but they were still in jail for 2 years while they were waiting. So it doesn't matter if it takes time to work through the courts or not, they're going to arrest people and let it take as long as it takes. Doesn't matter. They're not going to wait for it to work through the courts before arresting you. They're just going to arrest you
And why?
because they can.
Because they can.
Because we let them.
That is not an incorrect assessment. It is a distinction without a difference.
Well,
Oh, that's
all I can
huge.
say is Merrick Garland needs to get on the stick. There's supposed to be some hearings start in 4 days. And if he does not do some shit, we're in trouble. The people who have done this, if they're, a lot of them are involved in this ongoing coup attempt. But if indictments start flying out and people start getting arrested, then we can stop it.
Yeah, and just I don't mean to belittle in any way what you said. My point was just that they are two different expressions. They do have differences in how they're meant, but effectively currently there's very little difference in how it's playing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Meaning that ultimately the things are happening the way that they're happening, regardless of the rationale, because you could make an argument either way and not be wrong. And entirely possible that they're both right. But
But yeah, it comes down, but the huge difference is between responsibility, accountability, and a real assessment of the situation.
true.
And yeah, how much we tolerate is absent of all that.
It's part of the reason why, and I hate to be one of these people to rah-rah it, the more people vote, the more rational people are voted in. Now, you notice I'm saying rational people. I'm not saying Democrats or Republicans. I'm saying more rational people. People who actually listen, who study up on a topic, who actually understand the duties and responsibilities of what the hell they're supposed to be doing. Unlike everybody else, I want to see more happening from the Department of Justice. I want to see more flashy stuff happening. And I know that's not how this shit works, but god damn it, I would so much want to see something happening, because without showing what's going on, showing that there is stuff going on, so many people are very much of the, well, I'm not seeing anything happening, so why should I bother if nothing's happening? Because if I don't see it, it's not happening. You just have to take it on faith that it's happening. And that, you know how we feel about faith.
Well, it needs to happen before November 8th.
Agreed.
If it doesn't happen by November 8th, it's over for us. I will go ahead and say that now, because as far as the fix being in Pennsylvania, it's in. Michigan, the fix is in there as well. There's a good chance that, Mastriani is going to be the next governor of Pennsylvania. He, is one of these, people who swears up and down that, Trump won the election and it was stolen. And he hit, the way that Pennsylvania and Michigan and some other states have gotten rid of all of their, GOP electors and replace them with GQP electors that have made the determination that they can put up whatever electors they want to, regardless of how the vote goes. We already know that, November 8th is the last chance we have to stop this. And we still may not be able to stop it. If the electoral votes of Pennsylvania and Michigan go to whoever the GQP deem the legitimate electors, then it's over. It's a lock, and there won't be shit we can do about it.
I know there are going to be people who are going to be like, this is hyperbole.
It's not. It is not.
It's not.
What happened January 6th was a coup attempt. We know that now. We know more than we ever dreamed, and it's still going on.
The fact that there is information that says, credible information that says the vice president of the country had a credible threat upon his person by the president himself?
Mm-hmm. That gives a whole new meaning to that phrase that he said, I will not get in that car. Is that not terrifying? Because he knew.
We know for
he knew if he got in the car, if he got in the car with his, Secret Service, he was not coming back. He knew that.
Again, we know there are going to be people who are going to be like, you're yelling and screaming, you're fear mongering, you're saying all these things, and it's never going to be that as bad as all that. Are you also the same people who said it in 2016 when we told you it was going to be an absolute shit show, and that we had actual fear for ourselves and our other loved ones? We were right. We were right then, and we're right now. The only difference is you're just going to need more time to process it and believe it. If some of you people even believe it. We need to wrap up. I've said a lot more tonight than I normally do. I have soapboxed a lot more than I normally would. I could probably go on for another 15 minutes straight, barely breathing through it all. So I'm just gonna say, I'm glad we're back. I'm sad we're back. I'm sad that we need to be back. I'm sorry that I didn't bring us back. But we're not leaving. We still got too damn much to do. And we're going to keep doing the best that we can. And we're going to push more to see about getting more people's attention. Tech, you've been relatively quiet the last bit. What do you want to finish off with?
People tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about when I say the greed in this country is real. Publicly available figures show that, overall, corporations in America have paid roughly $200 billion in federal income tax. Just that. All right, we're not going to talk about any other taxes. But the most recent stimulus spread out amongst all these companies comes to about almost 900 billion. So they're going to be making 700 billion profit in paying their taxes. Americans, 300 plus million of us, collectively paid roughly close to 1.7 trillion, that's bigger than billion, for those who don't know, in federal income taxes. Collectively speaking, we will be receiving about $245 to $250 billion in stimulus payments. So we're losing money, but the corporations are making money hand over fist. And people tell me, well, it's a corporation. It's not the billionaire's fault. You can't blame Musk and all them for this stuff. I was like, oh, I can't? I can't. Okay. Musk is currently worth over $270 billion. And he bragged on Twitter that he was going to be paying about $11 billion in taxes this year. That's 4%. 4%, a little tiny bit over 4%, like 4.1 or something. Most Americans pay anywhere from 10% as upwards as high as 37%. And if you want a real idea of just how much he's actually worth, what that $270 plus billion means, let's say you made and saved every penny of $10,000 a day, every single day. Okay? You multiply that by 365 for a year. To do that, you would have to live for 74,000 years to make that much money saving just $10,000 a day every single day. You tell me why we have a problem in this country. Because it sure ain't the millennial who's paying for avocado toast. Or they have to pay for Lyft because they can't afford a car, let alone insurance on the car. So they have to go in with a buddy and pay for a Lyft ride to work. But, and they go to the bank hoping to get a mortgage that might come out to, I don't know, something like, say, $1,200 a month in payments, and they can afford it, but they're told they're not approved for a mortgage. But they should just go back to their $2,000 a month apartment. Folks, people are getting kicked out in the streets, and it's so bad that the people who are making millions off the people getting kicked out, billions and trillions of dollars they're making off of people getting kicked out in the street, that when they get kicked out in the street and they're losing money, they're criminalizing them living in the street so they can make more money. Rise up, people. Unionize everything. Your jobs, your tenancies, everything. Collectively stand together and say, no more of this shit. You have to write your Congress critters. You have to show up at their doorstep. You're legally allowed to go to your politician's place of business and go, you know what? We need to have a chat.
Fair enough. Joseph, where do you want to finish off?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I don't know where to start without going into another rant. Save that for another episode.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, if I can tell you that I could probably vent another 15 minutes barely breathing, I completely understand that. Brigid, without breaking the bank on this one, what do you got left?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's been a hell.
All I can say is me, Doja, Thrakani.
What?
Me, Doja, Thrakani.
Okay, what does that? Oh.
We're so fucked.
She's been doing the Duolingo thing and showing off to me every once in a while.
That's okay.
Hey, I made it up to the first checkpoint, man. I've been busy for like a whole month.
That's fair. But that's going to do it for you then?
I'm just... Susan Collins, go fuck yourself.
You know, was kind of wondering if we're going to get to that.
Take your fake concern and shove it up your ass.
And out her nostrils at that point?
And out her nostrils and her ears and any other orifices that she has.
You know, I was going to give you hell for it, but I suddenly realized, oh, that's right. There is actually a pathway through the auditory canal that is connected to the yeah, okay. That
Her nasal passages and her throat and everything else.
yeah. There's a reason why they're called ear, nose, and throat people, because there is actually connection between the ear, nose, and throat. All you have to do, hold your nose closed and breathe out as hard as you can with your mouth sealed out. You will have it come
Your
out your
ears
ear.
will, yeah.
Just be
I don't recommend it.
well. I mean, you're a kid. You do stupid shit like that when you're a kid.
But yeah, between, oh, well, I had a really good talk with them and I believed them, and oh, well, Trump learned his lesson and I was concerned, but he's learned his lesson. Go fuck yourself.
Total lack of accountability.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to I'm going to reserve my commentary on the grounds that you know what? I'm just going to shut right the hell up right now. I'm just going to leave it right there. Thank you all for being with us. We know it's been a little while since we were together like this. And there's a lot that's gone on. And I'm not going to close the way that I normally would. I'm going to say this. Yeah, we took some time off. Because, yeah, I thought that I needed it. We need to be here for each other. We collectively, the Crap Crew, will continue to be here for you. And I'm saying this not to you, the audience. I mean you as an individual. Yes, you are part of the audience, but we mean you. I mean you. I don't look at the numbers of who watches, how many people watch. I don't look at the numbers of how many people are downloading and listening to the show. I don't care about that. What matters to us is you. Because you matter. You are not alone. You will not be alone. And I don't care how much I still end up paying into web hosting or whatever else it is that we got to do. We're here because we think that we do is important to people like you. And it's not just the people who are on the outsides of everything, but I do need to make specific mention of it to all of you who are celebrating Pride. We are here for you. If you don't have family, you got family. If you don't have safe people to talk to, you've got safe people to talk to. And if you think that you're alone, it's okay to feel lonely. Don't ever for a second think that you're alone. We will be here for you. I've still got another 25, 30 years left on my ticker. I'll be here as long as I can. Thank you. On the chat, Stephanie, please take care of yourself. Please stay safe. Phyllis, you too, take care of yourself. Guys, collectively, I think that it's probably a good idea. Even though he's probably not going to hear it, we did hear, I did hear the last couple of days that Sam Mulvey from Ask an Atheist over there in, Ask an Atheist. Washington. God, I've got too many damn things running through my head. Tested positive for COVID, unfortunately. He's going through the runaround trying to get a whole bunch of stuff. So, Sam, you and Rebecca, we are keeping tabs to see how things are going for you guys. We really hope that you still, you get through all of this quickly and easily. And we're not going to say thoughts and prayers, but we're keeping tabs to see if there's anything that we can do to help for you later. Just be careful, guys. So, guys, thanks very much. Joseph, I'm glad you're able to make it. I hope your migraine disappears relatively quickly. And again, sorry I didn't warn you ahead of time that I thought that you knew. I'm sorry.
What?
that we were off at the time. See,
Oh,
Joseph chimed in that first weekend. He's just like, where the hell is everybody? I'm like, oh shit, I thought I explained it. Shit, that's my fault. I'm sorry. But I'm glad you're able to make it with us. Seriously, I really hope, the migraine and everything, it takes care of itself quickly enough for you.
yeah. Well, I hope so. I'm gonna binge watch shit. I don't know. We'll see. You guys all take care.
Thanks, man. Tech, good to have you back, man. You take care of yourself and you be careful, huh?
Yeah, trying. Doing the best I can in the area that I'm in. So.
Yeah, many ways over. See, Tech and I have known each other long enough that he knows full well how much of the you be careful with everything, how much I'm actually implying in all that you people don't know about. Trust me, most of us have never met, but being internet friends does not change the fact that you have friendships. Keep that in mind for each other.
True.
Speaking of which,
Brigid, Ghost, we missed you, man, and you got to restock the bar.
Brigid and I have been in contact every once in a while over the last month with things that have just gone sideways. I think it's fair to say that we've helped each other out a couple of times. I'm very glad that I've got all of you guys. So, Brigid, thank you for your time tonight, and I really do hope that you have yourself a safe week ahead with everything.
Oh, I will. You're just gonna be hanging out at the house and working and trying to not interact with the locals.
And besides Susan Collins, which I think that's a big enough Clydesdale-sized go fuck yourself. Did you want to drop for anybody else?
Oh, goodness.
I mean, you could just stick and say, you know what, that's a good enough one for one night.
Well, I'm going to throw Alito in there as well. And Jenny Thomas. What the hell?
That's fair. That's fair. I'm glad you're able to...
Yeah, I mean, shit. Clarence Thomas needs to be impeached. Full on stop. That won't happen. But I hope something happens to her. I want her to go under the jail.
I like that idea. I'm going to throw an honorary one out there. And I think we can all pretty well agree. The police force down there in Texas that dealt with the school shooting, who have consistently disseminated factually inaccurate information, lies, and falsehoods. I give that entire police group an absolute monster-sized fuck you. Go fucking die in a fire. Like I said, I could go 15 minutes without taking a breath at this point. I really think it's a good idea for me to just not even bother. Thank you for being with us, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you again come next week, because we'll be back again next week. Until that time, all of our contact information is available over at the website, holycrapthevlogcast.com. If you'd like to leave a voicemail message, feel free. 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. I'm going to see about getting in touch with some folks and pulling them in again. If things change significantly on the gun front, I am absolutely going to get in touch with Tom Verney to see about getting him back on with us again, because if things change, I think he is going to be one of those people who is very much going to be of the opinion of, I was wrong. I didn't think it was going to have happen. I am so glad to be wrong. I hope. And even though I don't think he's going to hear it, Raif, it's good to see your smiling face, man. Take care of yourself. So until the next time we're together, everyone, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, 17 years, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin, I love you, I miss you, dream of me. And until next time, everyone, good night.